It's time for Cats Talk Wednesday. Small town and big city joined forces. Benny Hardy of Lynch, Kentucky, and Terry Brown of Louisville, Kentucky, team up to give you free-flowing, laid-back sports talk. Focus on Kentucky Wildcats, as well as pertinent information in the NBA, NFL, and Major League Baseball.
That's what we do each and every week. TB in Des Moines, adjacent via Louisville. I'm out here in Knoxville, adjacent via Lynch, Kentucky. College basketball is over already, TB, man, and we're looking forward to these playoffs. But how we doing, man? How's everything?
Doing fantastic. I mean, for a little bit, Iowa was the center of the basketball universe for a little bit, and we got a guest that's going to talk about that. I do have to say that, Caitlin Clark and the show she put on, she is from West Des Moines, Iowa, the same suburb that my lovely wife is from. So I have to put that on every show that I come on. I have to remind folks, not just Des Moines, but West Des Moines. So we got friend of the show for he covers the Iowa Hawkeyes. Go Iowa Awesome. My man Adam Jacobi was in the place in Dallas for the women's Final Four. So I'm gonna say you had a front row seat. I don't know if it was front row, but I'm gonna say it because it sounds better. But you were there for one of the biggest sports. I don't want to say upsets, but you were there to watch Iowa take down vaunted South Carolina. So just tell us about being in town for that, watching the Final Four, because I know I couldn't do it. I'll be talking a lot of mess. Like, I'd love to cover Kentucky the Final Four, but the way my heart works, don't really do that. So, how did you do that, man? How did it go?
First of all, thank you both for having me on, especially this quickly. Starting off the show, it's a high honor, especially some old friends like you two. So thank you very much. As for the game itself, I wasn't even in the front row of the press box. And I don't know if you've ever been to the American Airlines Center to cover anything, but the press box is up in like the Sting section, like way, way up in the rafters. Like I was looking down onto the top of the hanging scoreboard in the middle of the court. So like front row, not quite, more of like a front row seat to whatever they call the fear of heights. That's about what I had. For the games themselves, though, really an incredible experience. And in both instances, it was something where you could tell pretty quickly that you were watching something momentous and historic. Some of that had to do with the vibe of the audience. Some of it had to do with the real obvious, number one versus number two, because I was not really some Cinderella team. Their last finish in the AP poll before the tournament was number two. So those were the two best teams going at it. It was just sort of a bummer that it was in the semifinals rather than the finals. But I think the viewership numbers, and I'm sure that we'll get to those in a second, but the numbers would agree that was really a watershed moment, not only for the Hawkeyes, but for women's basketball in general. And our women's basketball reporter, Braden Roberts, just posted an article on goiowaawesome.com or also just iowa.rivals.com about how much of a watershed moment it was and how we saw immediate results in the ratings from the semifinals to the finals. So an incredible privilege, not only to be able to witness that, but also to be able to talk to the players and the coaches before and after those games. Really tremendous character all around. And gosh, I hope you guys get an opportunity to be able to be in the house for Final Four. If you don't want to stay silent in the press box, I get it. But I hope you get to be in the house and cheer as loud or as quiet as you want, because it's really an amazing thing.
I always said that was going to be my walk-off, Vinny. Like, win or lose, that was going to be my walk-off, because if they win, y'all gonna look at the TV and be like, why is TB on the stage? What is? How did? I'm gonna be holding up the trophy, but
Oh yeah,
I digress a little
slinging
bit.
his shirt off the whole time.
That's right. Anything's possible. Right.
Yeah. Going full Petey Pablo.
That's right. But I think when we look back on how things become things, right? There are the moments we can look back to where college basketball was very regional and it was very, and then Bird Magic happened, right? The Super Bowl, started out being played wherever, and there was that moment where it became a thing. I think, in the 70s with the Steelers and the Cowboys, those moments you can look back. And I think that, not to be a prisoner of the moment, I think this is that for women's basketball.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think that the numbers bear them out. First of all, the fact that Iowa Louisville, which Terry, I think you're a little bit happy about that result in the Elite Eight. Not only did that set Elite Eight records, not only did it also send Haley Van Zandt home. You saw this sort of like catapult effect happen. Really, I mean, there were smaller stages in the first and second round, but you really start to see that ramp up with Iowa Louisville in the Elite Eight. Then there's a big jump to Iowa South Carolina, which was $5.5 million in the Final Four semifinal, which was in and of itself like a top 5 women's basketball rating of the ESPN era, as in like the last 30 years or so. And then when Iowa won that game, and in such dramatic fashion, and with such a huge performance by Caitlin Clark, and in a game where no matter when you turned on the TV, you knew that the game was in doubt, in trouble, and like there was a very real chance of that upset happening. That was a 40-minute thing, and so that reward that viewers got out of tuning into Iowa South Carolina only heightened that hype that we saw for the championship game against LSU, and the ratings there 9.9 million viewers, which outdrew all but about 5 or 6 college football games this year. Like outdrew the Rose Bowl, outdrew Alabama LSU on the gridiron, which should not be possible. Obviously obliterated records for women's basketball. And that was an effect of Iowa rewarding people for tuning in those earlier rounds. And that's also sort of the Caitlin Clark effect, that not only do you need to like see what she's capable of, but you need to see what she's doing every single game against really top competition. And that's something that women's basketball hasn't really had, especially outside of Bristol, Connecticut, for a while now. And so to see that both covered properly by women's basketball media, which hasn't always been the case, and to see the results happen so quickly, it's very rewarding for those of us who have been watching women's college basketball for more than, the last 2 months or the last 2 years, right?
So, I mean, you're an Iowa guy through and through. What is it like that now Iowa women's basketball is now a national thing? Like it's a thing, right? Like the team is everywhere. The shout outs that Caitlin Clark was getting from just the luminaries in the college basketball world, even Magic Johnson. Vinny Magic Johnson played for the Lakers. He was a 5-time champion. I just like to remind Vinny.
Yeah.
But for Iowa, this is a time in the spotlight. It's got to feel good to be just from a fan perspective.
Yeah, it is, especially because this is a situation that you don't really see universities vault themselves into very often, especially before they win a championship. That game against LSU was the first time that Iowa women's basketball had ever been in a championship game, like even competing for a title. They had made one or two other Final Fours, but if it was more than one, it hasn't been one in the last 30 years. So normally, like, that's a path that most colleges, most universities don't really take in D1 Power 5 sports these days. But at the same time, one, Caitlin Clark is a very magnetic presence, a one of one unto herself, right? And Iowa really won the Powerball by being able, well, one, the fact that she was from Central Iowa, and two, that she was willing to stay home. There's a great, go ahead.
I was like, she's from West Des Moines, Iowa, and if there's one thing I can say about that, you get you a Kate from West Des Moines, Iowa, you got a good one.
Mm-hmm. Now that being said, she came from West Des Moines Dowling, which is the private school here, the one school that gets to recruit. So most of the people from West Des Moines and Des Moines proper, they might say that Caitlin's the first good thing to come out of that high school in a long time. I would never agree. Certainly not after dating another alum. But that aside. But going back to my point, one, Iowa got supremely lucky that Caitlin Clark ended up there, and two, that she developed into such a great player, which is a testament to the Iowa coaching staff for investing so much time and effort in harnessing that competitive energy and not just letting her, be some rogue center of the universe spiraling out of control, which is easily possible, right? Like, it's easily
Absolutely
possible. So how it feels is pretty great for just about any Iowa fan, because not only has Caitlin Clark ascended to this real high state of visibility, but also the Iowa fan base has sort of taken that stride by stride with her. Terry, you and I were in Carver Hawkeye Arena when the Iowa women, seemingly out of nowhere in those last 2 weeks, but last season, the Iowa women basically swept the last 2 or 3 weeks of the regular season, cut down the nets against the higher-ranked Michigan Wolverines as Big Ten champions, and in front of a sold-out house, all right, in front of 15,500 fans.
Jam-packed.
Who were loud, and they were loud. And so from my perspective, especially as someone who's been watching women's ball for quite a while now, it really sort of felt like righting a wrong. That something societally was starting to move back in the right direction. And it's sort of not fair to the other 350 odd women's basketball teams in D1 because, they don't have a Caitlin Clark, and then there's 10 that don't really need a whole lot more support than they already get, but just being able to see that happen in Iowa, and then to see those Iowa crowds sort of follow her to road games, to Seattle, to Dallas, to the Big Ten championship, whatever neutral court tickets they can find, they're buying up in large numbers. And that is, it sort of feels like the fan base is at the very least earning the notoriety that the college basketball program has gotten, seemingly out of nowhere.
Yeah, and Vinny, I talked to Kendrick Haskins, friend of the show, Adam, that out of Louisville. He's a sports director, so he was at that Elite Eight game, and he was like, he didn't realize Iowa rolled like that. I'm like, yeah, like, Kentucky basketball fans, we have that. Is it infamous that we'll kind of go everywhere? But I'm like, Iowa fans travel pretty darn well too. We got to talk about the elephant in the room, the to celebrate or to not celebrate, and how that thing spiraled. I had a lot of comments on Facebook about what was right, what was wrong. And my whole thing is this, like, I didn't think Caitlin was bothered by it in the moment. Because if you talk trash, like that's the beauty of basketball, right? Is there's nowhere to hide, right? Like if you're a quarterback or wide receiver, you can blame it on your terrible defense, right? But if you're basketball, hey, that's in the moment. You're wearing tank tops and shorts. That's the beauty of it. From the black top all the way up, you talk it, and your ego is at risk, right? And so I didn't think Caitlin had an issue with it because she's Steph Curry level of I'm gonna let you know how good I
am. Think Larry Bird.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of people. I thought the side by side was what she did against Louisville, and then what Angel Reese did against. I'm like, you're looking at this in a vacuum, right?
Right.
And my point was, I have probably watched more Iowa women's basketball than any of you people that are commenting on this. And this is how she carries herself. But if you do that at a high level, you know it's coming back on you. If it's Dikembe Mutombo like this, and then Jordan gets you, you're getting that, right? Like that's what it is.
I mean, if it's horns down, if it's L's down, you're gonna get it. You know, T.O. did the Ray Lewis dance when he scored. That is, you know, if you put it out there, it's gonna eventually recircumvent and come back to you at some point.
Like T.O. standing on the Dallas Star.
That's exactly what I thought you were going to say. Yep.
Well, right. I'm like, okay, he did it once. All right. And then Emmett, put it out there, and T.O. did it. I was like, no. As soon as I saw him going, I was like, this isn't going to end well. But that's what sports is. And so you had a lot of people fighting for Caitlin, and I'm like, she's not saying anything.
Yeah.
All this stuff about, and look, Dawn Staley, 100% right. A lot of the LSU, what they're saying is regarding Angel, 100% right. How we view black women in sports, 100%. I just was like, this ain't the Iowa people saying anything, right? It would have been different, I think, if Coach Bluter had said something, if a player had said something, or Caitlin. But I'm like, we're fighting. Like, that's a separate discussion. You don't really need to include Iowa in that.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this. Having been in Dallas, I was there for the post-game comments that they had at the news conference itself with the cameras rolling. And I was also there in the locker room when they were having their breakout comments as well. And at no point did Caitlin Clark ever ask for any sympathy, ever try to draw any negative attention to Angel Reese, never said anything about any sort of gestures even potentially being out of bounds, because what I have heard from her quite a bit is an open acknowledgement that when you talk as much trash as she does, that it's going to come back to her. She calls herself the most picked on player in practice, and everybody laughs when she says that because they know why it keeps coming to her, right? So it is news to Caitlin Clark that trash talk is part of sport. And it hadn't been news for as long as she's been talking about it, because it's part of her fame and it's part of something you need to know on the court, or else you're going to learn real quick. And, this is her third season in college basketball and she's still talking that cash. She's learned, right? Like, this has never been people reacting to a negative reaction from Clark or Bluter for that matter. Coach Bluter could care less about any of this as well, because she's there with Clark in practice, and like, she's been around the sport for long enough that those things about trash talk. This has been people preemptively getting offended on her behalf, on Caitlin Clark's behalf, and ascribing some things to this that, if you really know sport and you really know athletes, that is not the right way to look at everything that's been going on. Like, if you want to say that giving Caitlin one of these and one of these, like, distracted from the championship. I didn't see anybody distracted on that platform when LSU was celebrating, right? If all you're doing is like, if that's code for it's distracting the boomers, well, fine. But we don't, they're not the most important people when we are looking at this national championship game played by these women on the court and 10 million people viewing in to watch. Like, Keith Olbermann does not get to be the main character of that story. I'm sorry.
Or Dave Portnoy or any of those other guys. And the thing that kills me is like the people our generation older, like, we have deified Michael Jordan, and his whole thing was, and this is, talking to Kate, I'm like, you don't understand. He flew the dude that made the like varsity team above him, flew him in for his Hall of Fame induction just to let him know, I got you. He talked trash to his kids at the Hall of Fame induction. And we watched the 15, 20 part, The Last Dance, where he just makes up stuff to be offended about and talk trash about. I mean, he called Muggsy Bogues a effing midget. Like, and then Larry Bird, it's legendary, right? Like, which one of you guys is coming in second? Like, you can't talk about how that's awesome. And then when the women do it, now we've got to have these moralistic discussions. And I'm like, we don't have to do this, right? We don't have to let the lowest common denominator folks get to have this moment taken away from Angel and Caitlin. Like, we should not be having these discussions because the Final Four was great. LSU's comeback against Maryland. You get Iowa knocking off undefeated South Carolina. And you get a game. I thought the championship game, got tight there in the third, right? But what can you do when the other team's shooting 75% from three? Like, you're only, and that's what I told Kaz. Like, the only hope is Caitlin just goes ballistic in the second half, to cover up that ground. But it was a good product. It was a better Final Four, I think, than the men's product.
Oh, easily. Yeah, and there was a lot of controversy about the referees, and a lot of that dipped real quickly into conspiracy theory on the Iowa message boards. Ask me how I know, which was its own like part of disappointing, and their reaction to the Angel Reese thing, again on Caitlin Clark's behalf without her ever asking for it. Also at times like getting into really disturbing territory. So from an Iowa perspective, that aspect of it, and I know that we've seen undertones of it in the way it's been covered in national media too, that aspect has been really disappointing. And you would hope, especially in a sport like this, that we could move past that, or we could just skip it altogether. But it's also sort of a unfortunate reminder that growing the game means like you're growing some really unhealthy fans into it too. So this is just going to be part of the territory now with women's basketball, and the money's going to be worth it, right? Like they'll never be like, we're too famous now. Certainly not at this point. But buckle up, because that aspect of it, I don't expect to go away anytime soon.
You mentioned that you compared her to Larry Bird with the trash talk. Is there a certain incident or interaction that our fans who've been watching her more so still kind of like one of her more savage interactions from a game that people know about or have heard about? That
Well, I think the most savage one actually came. I can't believe this game keeps coming up, but in the Elite Eight against Louisville. But Haley Van Zandt, who also is a player who damn well better know that it's coming back to her with as much as she talks too. Like, Caitlin Clark is not the only one talking the cash in women's basketball by a long shot. She's not even the only white girl, right? So at some point, Louisville like gets it down from like 25 points to 15 points with about 3-4 minutes left, and the game is not in doubt, but it's just like it's on that pace for a little bit too long.
Yeah.
So so Van Zant starts talking a little money.
You keep saying Van Zant. You mean Van Lith?
Van Lith, yes. Sorry.
Okay.
For the Louisville
Haley
fans
Van Lith.
for the Louisville fans that may find this podcast, I want to be accurate.
Play some Skinner.
Man.
All right. Sorry, Adam. Go ahead.
Oh my goodness. I don't even know who Haley Van Zant is. Haley Van Lith. So Van Lith starts talking a little bit of that money. And you can actually read Caitlin's lips on the replay. But she says, and I quote, "Shut up, Haley, you're down by 15 points."
Okay.
And that's about where the Louisville rally stopped. But like she's getting it back. She's like, "Man, shut up. We're beating you." Like don't even give me that to begin with. But she loves, like dismissive gestures, playing to the crowd. She'll do a little bit of that too. She makes it fun. She knows that she is in the entertainment business. Absolutely all the way. And she also knows that the entertainment stops when the game is over too. So it's not personal, but it might make you feel, kind of crummy if you're on the other end of it at the time. I get it.
And you talked last time you were on, we talked Ferens, we talked Fran. You gave a real insightful, because you were in Birmingham for Iowa Auburn. So just the same question about Lisa Bluter. Terry was talking about how she'd been there forever. Just your perspective of her interactions with her. I
didn't realize she had coached Drake before she got to Iowa, and was at some small place like by the Quad Cities or something before that. Like she Iowa through and through.
Through and through. An Iowa native at that too. So like Iowa basketball, Iowa women's basketball, going all the way back to the 6-man or I guess 6-girl leagues, has been sort of this guiding force for her. And the University of Iowa being a real like pioneer, if you look it up in women's athletics, they had their own women's AD for the longest time, Dr. Christine Grant, and they really, really invested in women's athletics as soon as Title IX started to get involved. So that's a legacy that even predates Lisa Bluter and is sort of endemic in the state of Iowa to begin with. So this has always been a state where women's basketball means a little bit more, even though, there hasn't always been a whole lot of talent coming out of the state. But she is she's been coaching since she was in her 20s. She's a lifelong head coach, going back to St. Ambrose was the college that you were thinking of. And once you get a chance, try to find it. It's on Twitter, but somebody found an old news clip from the 80s when she was at St. Ambrose. And people were still talking about women's basketball in the way that, like, not only is she a coach, but she also has to have time for her husband. What does he think about it? Like, no joke. That is part of the local news broadcast about this amazing chick coach. So she has seen the way people look at sports change as much as anybody. And not only has she seen it change, but she has been given a front row seat to that change, from its lowest to its highest. And she is a person that is about as impeccable moral character as you're ever going to encounter in college sports, just flat out. And you don't even have to hear it from her to get it, although when you listen to her, you get it. It's the way that her players talk about her, that they feel sort of a maternal aspect of it because she's also a mom. And one of the things that Monica Zadano told me is that since she feels that love from her coach, she knows that no matter what the coach says in practice, no matter, what her message is, how hard she's coaching you, she knows that it's coming from a place of love, so she can receive that coaching and learn better because of it. I mean, what more can you say about a coach to have that level of trust and buy-in from a player like that? And, as long as I've been covering Iowa women's basketball, I've never heard one ill word about her from a former player. regardless of if they had transferred out or what. Like they run a really high character program there, and there's just no way around that, and there's nobody who would ever suggest differently. Anybody who's ever been working with them. So I would say the University of Iowa is very lucky to have her as a representative, as the sort of ambassador for basketball, for women's athletics, for the program in general. I don't know what else to say other than that.
Yeah, you're always giving the insightful answers and in depth about that, so I appreciate it. Jan Jansen, her assistant, does she have aspirations to be a head coach? Is she just cool right there being like the top assistant for Lisa, or?
She has been Lisa's top assistant for her entire career.
Mm.
She's an associate head coach, and I don't think that she wants to be anywhere else, because Lord knows she's had the opportunities and she's good enough. But when you find this good of a cultural fit, and those two, they've been thick since Bluter was coaching Jensen at Drake.
Wow.
So Jan Jensen is one of two women who have their number hanging up in Drake Auditorium, or the Knapp Center, I guess it is now, Terry.
Yeah, you pointed that out when we were there. You know what also was hanging up in the Knapp Center, Vinny? A men's Final Four banner, something you won't see in Thompson Bowling Arena.
Absolutely.
There in Knoxville, Tennessee.
That's right.
They also have two Elite Eight banners hanging up. There's only one of those in Knoxville, Tennessee. So I just had to point out what else Drake has that Tennessee doesn't have. Sorry to interrupt there, Adam.
Yeah. So we're talking about Drake royalty in women's basketball here. And she's just never lost stride with Lisa Bluter, and she's really been instrumental to Bluter's success as well. And once again, everybody who's involved with the program would tell you the same. And that is a badge of pride for both of them. But also a person that you really talk about having immaculate character. I would say Coach Jensen is probably my favorite person that I've ever interacted with in a post-game interview. She gives very, very thoughtful answers, too thoughtful for it to even translate well to the written word. So she'll give me a paragraph of an answer that requires one word, and the rest of the paragraph is very interesting. It just doesn't read well. So I hate editing out what thoughtful answer she gives, but she's part and parcel of that culture too. And that is not only a mutual respect, but it's also hard coaching and having the results to show for it. Megan Gustafson didn't come to Iowa as a 5-star center prospect, but she left as the Wooden Award or the Naismith Award winner, right? Monica Zanano also barely recruited by any Power One programs, and now is going to leave as one of the top 10 in field goal percentage for a career in NCAA history, right? So the results are there. So she has that authority, but she uses it and creates a culture where it's very positive and open coaching, and you get a level of buy-in as a result that is very, very hard to match these days. So again, the culture is impeccable. I honestly can't say enough about it.
My last one real quick. You've had quite a tour of the South these past few weeks. I've been to Birmingham a ton, been to Dallas once. You hit both of them in the past 3 weeks. So your thoughts, observations, impressions of the bits of the cities that you got to see.
Yeah. Listen, I love Dallas. That's the third time I've been down there. If it weren't 120 degrees for 4 months straight, I would really strongly consider living there. But I'm not cut out like that. Birmingham, I really, really enjoyed. And the best meal that I had was at the Magic City Grill, which is not that Magic City, but the Magic City Grill in Birmingham had some fried catfish, greens, and mac and cheese.
Lemon pepper wings.
Yes, sir. Lemon pepper Lou.
Come on in here, Lou.
I'm telling you, it was the best meal I had, and it's just this. I don't want to say a hole in the wall, but I walked right past it going somewhere else, and the person in there recommended it to me when I was making sure I was going the right place. So, so I got the local recommendation on that, and it was the best meal I had. So, between that, the Civil Rights Museum was absolutely amazing, and I really, really think people need to see it, witness it. It jarred me at multiple points. I thought Birmingham was great, especially for it being my first time ever in the state of Alabama. So, love you, Dallas. Love you, Birmingham. Both aces on my list.
My wife's the same way. She, we went to Dallas and she, Arlington, and I could live here. I really like it. She felt the exact same way. Yep. So I just had to get your thoughts, man, because you've been doing the big.
Yeah, he's going to stop taking my calls here for too long, I think.
brace yourself.
Unfortunately, now it's the off season. So, apparently I don't just get to go anywhere anymore.
But as always, Adam, we always appreciate it. I think you're officially a 5-timer, like the SNL thing. We might have to get you a robe. I think you're a 5-timer on this. But
let me get that lure.
Yeah, had to get you on since your beloved Hawkeyes were in the Final Four championship game, and so real quick, is it going to be a rebuild or reload in Iowa City next year? Because I know there's a lot of, Caitlin's coming back, but Monica is gone, some others are gone. So what's it kind of looking at for right now?
Well, for right now, all the scholarships are spoken for. And again, with the culture that I had mentioned there earlier, I'm really not sure that anyone's going to want to transfer out, even though with a couple 6-year seniors coming back, there's, more pressure downward on the bottom of the depth chart. But again, I don't think Iowa's your normal program in terms of people leaving because they don't think they're going to play quick enough, right? So as it stands right now, it's, whenever you bring back Caitlin Clark, it's not a rebuild, it's a reload. And the fact that she's got Kate Martin coming back with her and Gabby Marshall, you're still going to see that really tenacious backcourt defense being played. So
the one with the pretty eyes, right?
Pretty eyes, defender,
pretty eyes,
sniper.
That's right,
yes, sir.
Vinny, that's how one of the coaches described Gabby Marshall as they were talking about Iowa in the tournament. The one with the pretty eyes. So
wow.
Yeah, that became a thing.
She does them up for the game, right? Like she wasn't even saying it in a rah kind of way, but she wears makeup for the games. It's part of her thing. It's an observation.
Yes.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So even though you see Monica Zananoli and Addison O'Grady, really started to come on, especially during the tournament, played the most minutes of the season in the final, and really held her own. So between Stolke getting another year to learn under Jan Jensen, I think you're going to see a big step forward there into stardom for her. She looked at times like the next great thing for after Caitlin. So I think you're going to see a big step up there. You've seen Iowa ranked number 4, number 5 in the earliest preseason polls. There still might be, if anybody wants to leave, Iowa's going to be an extremely attractive destination for any transfer bigs, in the entire NCAA. They're going to be a tremendously attractive place, provided that they would be a cultural fit with the way Bluter does things. But I think most players would be. I think most would. You may see an even bigger shift there, but as it stands, as they're built right now, I think they do, before anybody else transfers, I think they do sort of belong in that 4 or 5 range going into next year. I would call that a reload.
Well, and let's just hope that Iowa doesn't play any other teams from Kentucky, because Caitlin went for the 40-point triple-double against Louisville. And then one of my friends, Vinny, was like, well, do you remember a couple years ago in the tournament she gave Ryan Howard in Kentucky like 37-6-5 or something like that. Like she may be the queen of the Commonwealth at this point.
Yeah, she lights us up.
Yeah, so I was like, I can't say a whole lot, but
no, sure can't.
as always, Adam, thank you so much. Always fun. I know we'll get together. Hey, it's starting to warm up. Almost grill season, man.
Ooh.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about.
And
I will be down there early and often for that.
And I've got my buddy. Where's he at? Where you at, Sammy?
Oh wow.
Yeah, he's right there. But all right, Adam, thank you so much, man. I know we'll be in touch.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you so much for having me. Really, always appreciate the opportunity.
Hey,
that's right. We'll get your robe in the mail. Five Timers Club.
That's right.
That's right.
Just drive it over to the house, Terry. You right there. Come on, quit playing. Take it over. Take it to the man. Take him his robe.
That's right. That's right.
Oh man, good stuff from Adam. Man, he's talking about Jan Jansen being insightful. He's always so insightful with everything he answers, man.
And we just talk, as we're traveling to Iowa City, as we're around, he comes over, I go over, and we talk about all kinds of stuff. Adam is good people. He's a favorite of Mama B's like you are. So always good. But I had to get him to talk about the women's Final Four. Great games.
Yeah.
Obviously. All the extra stuff. We don't have to do that. And I knew it was going to be a thing no matter the outcome of the championship game, because I saw social media on Saturday. I'm like, it just can't. People were just digging in to use Iowa, to use LSU as avatars for them to spout their own stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
All of the stuff that Angel Reese was getting, it wasn't coming from Iowa at all.
Right.
A lot of folks, Caitlin's got to take it. I'm like, she took it. Like, what do you like? She didn't do it. Like, that's part of it. So there's just so many layers going on to all that kind of stuff. But shout out to Iowa for getting that far. Shout out to LSU for winning. The first lady, you can't invite the losers. That's not how we do this.
No,
it just you don't. The losing team don't go to Disney World. Like that's not the losers don't get to take around the Stanley Cup. That's not how this goes.
Yeah. If Iowa got any pride, they will decline that invitation.
Oh yeah, they've already been on it. Coach Bluter put out a thing like, you're more than welcome to come to Iowa and visit, but that's LSU's thing, and
right?
Everything.
Yeah.
So, but the men's side, man. And yay, verily came to pass. Least watched final in quite some time.
Yeah.
It just didn't have the sizzle. Like we say we want all this parity. That's what we say we want. But we don't want that.
And, it could. There's a chance this could happen every year. It rarely does. It just happened to happen this year, and we got what we got. I think FAU would have gave them a better game had they been able to hold on against San Diego State. At least they could make a shot occasionally.
Yeah.
So, but it is what it is.
Right. And that's basically was my whole thought on the whole Final Four. It is what it is. I mean, yay for the teams that made it. I don't think this is, conversely, like we were saying earlier, I don't think this is a watershed moment. Oh no, we've got, look at this Final Four. We're never going to see blue. Like when just last year, it was Kansas, North Carolina, Duke, and Villanova.
Yeah, right.
In the Final Four. So it's like all it's going to take is for Kentucky and even Kansas to figure out this new landscape. That's all it's going to take. So I'm not worried about that. But yeah, and that's the whole thing is we hear this talk about in sports where we want parity. Everybody should have a shot, right? Like everybody's got to have a shot. You want, you're a Minnesota Timberwolves fan or a Minnesota Twins fan. You want to feel like you got a shot, right?
Mhm.
and that's what's best for the sport itself. And I don't think that's the case. I don't think this random parody that we say we want, that's not what makes the sport compelling. You've got to have a big bad for teams to beat.
And for people to hate and be polarizing both
And-
ways. You know,
Right.
I hate your Lakers. I hate the Celtics. They're polarized. Just the same reason you love them. People hate my Cowboys. People hate Kentucky. Polarized. You got to have that.
You know, yeah, exactly. What was it that made the NBA the NBA? It was Bird and Magic combining for 8 championships in 11 seasons, right?
Mhm.
Like, that's what we want to see. You know, Jordan's Bulls, your Rockets, right? You know, back-to-back champions. That's how the NBA has made it.
Mhm.
You know, there was that stretch when you look at going as far back as 87, 88. Lakers 87, 88. Pistons 89, 90. Bulls 91, 92, 93. Your Rockets 94, 95. Bulls, you know, 96, 97, 98, right?
Mhm.
99, Spurs. My Lakers go on a three-peat, you know, and the Spurs, you know, even though they didn't back-to-back, they were always in it, right? So that's how the NBA has always been.
Yep.
Except for the bizarre 70s, where I don't know off the top of my head, I don't think anybody repeated, but you had a lot of weird teams like the Sonics won, the Bullets won a championship, right?
Didn't they play back to back? And
Yeah.
one they alternated. Yeah.
Yeah, like in 77, 78, 79, something like that.
Mhm.
The Blazers won a championship, right?
77. Boston beat Phoenix in 76.
You know, the Warriors won with
75. Yeah.
So, you know, the 70s, outside of the
Respect.
70s, it's always been you have a team to shoot for. And right
Mhm.
now, there's no team to shoot for.
Yeah, that's true.
But tonight, my Lakers play the Clippers. They're gonna win. They're gonna get that. They're gonna get that 6 seed. I've been telling you about.
Titanic matchup for the city.
And then, yay verily came to pass. The Lakers gonna mess around and not be in the play-in game. And like I said, hey, you put the pressure on whoever that 3 seed's gonna be. If it's the Kings
Sacramento.
or whoever, Sacramento ain't beating the Lakers in the playoffs. I done seen that before, but anyway, you know, I think men's college basketball is just not. It doesn't have the sizzle that it used to. For however you want to say, it just doesn't have that. We don't know the players. We just don't like we used to. We don't have those. The thing is, really, we don't even have those coaches that have personality.
Mhm.
You know, that's the problem with college sports is teams used to have different styles, used to have different whatever, different atmospheres. The coaches were, you know, Dale Brown at LSU and Lou Carnesecca at St. John's and Tart the Shark with his towel and John Thompson with his towel and Arkansas with 40 Minutes of Hell and, you know, Michigan, you know, can we just say Michigan's glow up between the 89 championship that they won and the 92 Fab Five? That was a pimp your ride kind of glow up. When you look at the dorky uniforms that Glenn Rice and Ramil Robinson had with the big M in Michigan and the short shorts, and then just 3 years later, Michigan was cool. You don't have that anymore. You know, you don't have. You got coaches that are yellers and screamers, but you don't have those personalities like you used to. And that's what I think is hurting college basketball more than anything is you don't have personality. You don't have everything so buttoned down. Like I love Cal, but Cal is just, you know, he's more CEO than coach. And the one thing, and I meant to talk to this about Adam, the one thing I think you do have on the women's side is every team has a personality, right? You look at LSU, how they carry themselves, how the coach dresses.
Mm-hmm.
That's Louisiana. Van Gaal said on Round of Shots, that's Louisiana, right? It just is. I'm going to have some feathers on my coat with some sequins or whatever. And LSU, Angel Reed, they got their hair in it. Like, that's Louisiana, right?
Mm-hmm.
Iowa's team is very Midwestern Iowa. Coach Bluter looks like she's going to coach you basketball, but she's going to bring a nice, what is that? A nice crock pot meal to the church social, right? Like that, but there's different ways to do it.
Yeah.
UConn has Gino's kind of business-like, that's
Philly edge.
This is how we do it. The Lady Vols under the late great Pat Summitt took on her kind of, that twang.
Tennessee. She was from wherever she was out there, Middle Tennessee. Yeah.
Right. And so you've got that with women's basketball still today. Like talking about USC Junior, South Carolina, they've got Dawn Staley's edge, right? Yeah. It's
Philly,
different. Right. It's Philly. She ain't gonna let you forget, right?
She had that Randall Cunningham jersey on Super Bowl Sunday, coaching in the green Eagles jersey. Yeah, Philly. She's Philly just like Lisa is Iowa. Just
right. But you don't get that. And I just think you miss that what men's college hoops used to have, you don't have. Mm-hmm. Plus, it really does help that the stars in women's college basketball are there longer. Like, we are going to get year 4 of Caitlin Clark. We got 3 years of Aaliyah Boston. Yeah. We got another year of Angel Reese. Like, that's what's missing, right? It's that you see someone that shows you something as a freshman and blossoms into something else, like a Patrick Ewing. Yep. Right, that was great as a freshman, only got better, right? And I think we don't have that on the men's side. So outside of you being a fan of a particular team, I don't know what would pull someone into men's college basketball.
As far as it standing out and just grabbing you, yeah.
It's always great when Duke loses.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing I will miss about, that the early Cal era was the swag that Kentucky had. Mm-hmm. We've talked about it before. Kentucky's always been good. Back before you and I would have been allowed to play, right? Yeah. But Kentucky ain't never been cool. Even, the 90s teams, which, 25 years ago, but but Kentucky was never really cool, and Kentucky was cool.
Nope.
That stretch there was that something. So I don't know. Again, smarter people than me try to fix it, but I don't know.
Will he get it back? Is he trying to get that back? Is that just a part of him? He's 64 now. He was 50 when he first came. The whole, we're going to beat you. We're going to come to your place. And, that kind of, like you said, the way it exuded back then is different now.
Right. And the landscape has changed. Right. I think that next year, my takeaway from the McDonald's All-American game is we got some dudes that want to fight. Yep. And I don't mean fist fight. I mean, we've got some dudes like, look, South Carolina is not going to happen like that. We're not doing that. And I think there's that edge that you have to have. And we have had really good players these last few seasons. Obviously, Oscar, I don't know if you saw that thing I posted. He finished 3rd in rebounds in the NCAA tournament and only played 2 games. And the 2 people finished ahead of him played in the Final Four. Like, I just hope we appreciate what Oscar did. Like, I get it. We want to talk about his draft stock and the stuff he couldn't do. But the thing is, if you're not going to do a lot of things, do one thing excellent. And I hope that's the takeaway we have when it comes to Oscar is we haven't seen anybody do like that.
And he would have had 30. Was it the Purdue game? He had to sit for a couple minutes in the second half. I swear he would have had 30 that game. You know, he had 20, 21, 20, however many it was, 25.
Right. He had 43 total rebounds in 2 games.
Yeah, 25 the first one. Yeah, 18 the second one. If he doesn't get that first little ticky-tack foul, he breaks 30 against Providence. I have no doubt.
So, you know, I just want us to say, you know, yes, the seasons haven't gone quite like but we got to watch Oscar play. And that's pretty darn good. I think Cal's going to get back to it. You know, I just think it all goes back to roster construction. This season was what it was because I think, you know, he believed Shaedon Sharpe was coming back.
For this year?
For this year, yeah.
Oh, well, yeah.
Because you look and you look at like the 2013 team, that's based on thinking Teague's coming back. Right?
Yeah.
So for me, I'm excited. I'm not going to be one of these people because, you know, Owinso is transferring out. I can't keep up with.
And Hunter Dickinson is visiting with Kentucky, dude from Michigan. So,
everybody wants all 700 people in the portal to come to Kentucky, but then all 700 people are all trash. I can't keep up with it. I just know is by the time we play this summer, we play the whatever that exhibition, whatever that is, I'll be on board. Like I said on Spaces, I'll be mad now, but I'll be back on it. I'll be back on it on that narcotic when it comes to Big Blue Madness. So
because they don't Kentucky doesn't trade Dominique for Danny Manning, so I'm always coming back to that narcotic. You know, and like
you and Bomani Jones, he's got the date. He's got like the date and the time that it broke.
2/24/94. Bitter, man.
like every time somebody brings up the Hawks, he's like, nope, not since. And he got the date. He's got the date and time where it went down, where he's like, I'm off of it.
The internet wasn't even really a thing. I don't even know what it. But my wife Googled me and found something I wrote. I posted a comment about that, and it was still out there.
Yeah,
about me being mad about Dominique getting traded, which is, that's never going anywhere. Man, we hadn't, NBA playoffs are coming up. We're not really draft guys, not really recruiting guys. But this Victor Wembanyama kid, is he going to be as can't miss as they say? Every time you look up, there's highlights of him shooting a step back 3 at 7'9", however tall he is. And he shot a 3 and missed it and put back dunked his own 3, kind of like Dominique did from the free throw line against, I think, Boston. But all you're hearing is Victor Wemby, you know what I'm talking about. Is he can't miss? I'm thinking no, but we'll see.
You and I are old enough now. How many can't miss people have we seen? And that's what makes like LeBron stand out.
Yes.
Like he was can't miss, and they're like, oh, okay. And he's been even better than we thought, right? Like then
I remember watching that first game against Sacramento. 25, 8, and 6, and you're okay. Yeah.
Well, and for me, I remember me and my former father-in-law were gonna go watch OJ Mayo and I can't remember his high school teammate now. It was OJ Mayo was taking on like LeBron's squad. He's like, we should go check it out. And that was, they were playing like, where UC plays. And I was like, oh, okay. We didn't I was like, man, this is like, it was sold out anyway. But LeBron's been that. I don't know. We've seen a lot of people come up since then that have been this kind of can't miss. And I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what league he's playing in.
No, I just see his name everywhere. That's it.
And so, I think it just depends, but I don't know.
Yeah. Let's see. We got Bulls and Bucks. Is that the preview before your Lakers come on? 10 o'clock. Yeah, Bulls Bucks is the set the table for the Lakers and the Clippers. Oh.
Whatever, man. I just want to beat the Clippers for a myriad of reasons. But again, this is the best it's ever been for the Clippers. This is their peak, man.
You love to say that. You love them.
Hey,
until they break through and make it where you can't say that.
It's like Tennessee men's hoops, man. Like this is good for them.
Yeah.
Like this is their peak. This is,
mm-hmm.
and you look, this is as good as it's going to ever be for them.
Yeah, that's where they are. That's where they live. That's where they live. And they got space for more on that banner. That one Elite Eight banner is space that they're still waiting to put on there. And it's been that way ever since they hung it. Haven't added a drop of stitching of any kind to it. I think it was they beat Ohio State that year, 2008, 2010, whenever it was, they finally made an Elite Eight and barely did that. And then I think Ohio State might have beat them to go to the Final Four and then lose to Florida. So I don't know, but they hanging on to it with
good for them. Good for them, I guess.
When that's all you got, that's all you got, man. Just but love to it's just the false sense of perspective, thinking you're something that you're not. And
and the retort, well, Kentucky football, I ain't seen no legitimate Kentucky football fan talking about we this, that, and the other. That no. Mm-mm. But y'all talking about men's hoops like we've got your number. You ain't got nothing.
Yeah.
You got nothing. And anyway, well, baseball started back up.
And we got a long way to go, but hopefully y'all Cubs fans are happy. The Braves just complete a sweep of the Cardinals today. So 3 straight in St. Louis. So that's got to make Cubs Nation happy seeing the Cardinals lose.
Baseball fans aren't ever happy. It's like, it just boggles my mind to sign up to be miserable for 160 times a year. Man, I can't do it. I don't have the bandwidth. I go through my football and my basketball season. I can't be like that during baseball season. Too many games. I can't be living and dying on every pitch. Like
that's when you take your pause. You take a pause and kind of heal from football and basketball during baseball season.
Yeah, like I'm rooting for the Cubs by marriage.
Mm-hmm.
But I've had to correct people like, no. I'm rooting for the Cubs by marriage. My team doesn't even exist. I'm an Expos fan, so we've been undefeated since 2002.
That's hard to believe. It's really been that long, man.
I think it's 02 or 03 maybe. I'd have to check, but maybe it's I don't know off the top of my head. But anyway, baseball fans just love being miserable. So good luck to I saw some Houston Astros fans already talking about, I don't know what we're gonna do this season. Lord, y'all just won.
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll see they're 3-4. They're fine.
I can't do it. It 1 weekend and you already being ridiculous. I can't do it.
Now we had Sarah Sanchez on talking about all the rules. I did. It's opening day. Caught a little bit of the Braves, and you got the clock there to get the pitch off, and you got to be in the box. It didn't change it as much as I thought. I mean, if that's what they want to do, but I was railing against it when she was on with us, and then I watched the game and I was like, well, I don't think it's necessary, but it didn't affect it I guess as drastically as I thought. So
yeah, maybe it's going to be one of those things you don't even notice, but
until bottom of the ninth, and they do that in the playoffs or something, and then we'll have some Lou Piniella moments, have some bases thrown and some dirt kicked, and
there you go.
A good old school tantrum like we used to have.
That's what we need to bring back is managers being ridiculous.
Yeah.
Give me a Bobby Cox. Like, you know what? I'm tired of watching this game. I'm gonna go out here and do what I gotta do. Give me that.
Bobby would get thrown out in a minute, boy. He sure would. And was it Lloyd McClendon took the base to the dugout when he
I need to find that. You probably have already seen it. It was I don't know how it came up on my YouTube or Facebook or something, and it was a bunch of old Braves. It was like Smoltz and Glavine and Chipper Jones, and they were talking about their favorite Bobby Cox ejections, and absolutely hilarious. Because what struck me is they were like, yeah, this one we were at Shea Stadium, and it was the sixth inning, like being able to recall that kind of stuff. I'm like, okay. And the umpire did this, and then Bobby did, like, I was like, man, 162 games a year, y'all did, like, to me it all just blended together. But that was pretty funny.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we'll baseball's kind of turn on the TV in its own through the summer, and that's where we are now. Get the little break from who's hitting the portal, who Kentucky's trying to add, all that kind of stuff. Speaking of baseball, Kentucky baseball, 26-3,
best SEC start ever. Give a shout out to some of those other sports. Women's track and field is ranked top 5. The women's gymnastics team are good. I should say the gymnastics team. They made the final 8 going to nationals this weekend. Like, it's a good time to be the Wildcat. Tennis team is still doing its thing. So outstanding. For all those people that wanted Coach Nick gone, and he was out the door.
Yeah,
they go on that great run, the SEC tournament, and honestly probably should have made the big tournament, and they wanted him gone. And why did Mitch hire him? Now you got to fire him. And yay, verily, here we are with the best start in school history. So
yeah,
shout out.
8-1 in the conference. I mean, for a minute there, longest win streak in the country. And all the little stuff that, like you said, maybe they should have made the big tournament last year. Maybe a game here, probably a game or two, one way or another. You know how it is, the thin line. All of those little things that tripped on it last year, that's like they are about the business of rectifying it this year. He said, we're not going to let this little ticky-tack, knick-knack, this, cause us to miss it.
And it's setting up to host a regional and maybe a super regional. I mean, that's the name of the game when it comes to baseball and softball, is like, you got to host, right? You've definitely got to host those regionals if you can, and especially those super regionals. So keep swinging those bats, Cats.
I got to try to get up to Kentucky Proud Park and check them out this year. I think they come to Tennessee. I think Tennessee went up there last year, so I'm going to try to catch them when they come down here and try to get up to the new park. I have not been to the new ballpark yet, so I need to get that done.
Yeah, I've been by it, but not in it. Speaking of which, this non-sports related. My oldest took a campus tour to the University of Kentucky today, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to even pretend to be not biased. I think you should take a look at the University of Kentucky. But my youngest, and you know how she is, she's telling me that everything that was there when I was in school has been torn down. It's got historical markers.
Man, she is cold-blooded, boy.
Yeah, and she's like, I'm going to tell the tour guide that you integrated the University of Kentucky.
Oh! Terry Northington.
And and she said she did tell the tour guide they looked at some computer lab, and well, they didn't have computers when her dad was in school, is what she said. And I was like, that's not true. She's like, well, going back to the 1900s, and I'm like, please quit saying I'm from the 1900s.
Wow. Was she the one that was making fun of your vest too, right? Was it Little Miss?
Little Miss making fun of the vest. She just decided she didn't like me wearing sweater vests, so. Yeah. So as they've been going through, she shared pictures, and campus looks different from almost 30 years ago. Yeah,
it's changed. She'll go through this soon. Just tell her, like the old folks used to tell us, just keep living.
Yeah, just keep living. But go tell me, did they have computers when I was in school? Like, yes.
Yeah, she's just the energy she attacks you with this, man.
Yeah, and she still gives me trouble because I still call the W.T. Young Library the new library.
Yeah,
it's 30 years old almost, but
yeah, that's that. Yeah,
it was. I think I was a junior when it opened up.
Mm-hmm.
Like it wasn't open when I first got there.
Yeah.
Somewhere in my belongings, I still have a campus map where it says proposed library site with a little like.
It's weird how that stuff happens. There's roads heading home that's still called a new road, and that was built when I was 2 years old. So take the new road and go down here. Oh,
just let me be old by myself. I don't need to be harassed by my children.
Yeah.
But like I said, I'm not going to pretend to be unbiased about that. I would love to see both of them go to the University of Kentucky.
Mm-hmm. Did she enjoy the visit?
She did. Little Mrs. thinks she wants to be a pharmacist, and UK's got a really good pharmacy program. So she is already talking about going to UK for the pharmacy program. So I'm excited about that.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff, boy. They getting grown.
That's what happened. I seen pictures of your boys. They gonna be taller than you.
Both of them. Yes, and Chandler's big as his brother, and they're 4 years apart. So I think he's gonna pass all of us.
Yeah, man. So you're gonna be little bitty Vinny in a second.
Yeah, he's going back to like some of maybe my father-in-law's height and my granddad's height that I didn't get. I mean, you don't see me in person. I didn't get anybody's height. So he's going back a couple generations, and I think he's picking up some height from down through the line that skipped me. So.
Well, hey, I'm telling you, Big Miss is as tall as I am. She big old gals with. That's what my aunt always says. But
that's what Aunt May says about
Sarah. She a big old gal. Well, and that's why she is really into lacrosse, because she can be physical. Mm-hmm. And it's not a detriment to be, because she can run, she's doing all that, but she can be physical, and that's she's 5'11". That's although I would love to see her play basketball. I always thought she would be a great forward, but your kids gonna do what they want to do,
choose their own path.
Yeah, Little Miss is looking to play next year. She's gonna play field hockey. She's gonna get back into field hockey, and do that. So very, very exciting.
Yeah, good stuff. Just watching them grow up and make decisions and become little adults, and
they'll do what I say.
Okay.
Yeah, I figured that. Yeah, that it has been that way for a long time. But,
oh man, unbelievable. Well, man, we got it all in. Got the recaps. Got the Final Fours recapped. The women stole the show. They did. And
absolutely.
It could be the launching point for growth and more eyeballs and
Well, because I think next year LSU and Iowa are going to be must-see TV. Like, they are going to get those national televised games.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it's this summer the women's tournament and some of the women, like those broadcast rights are coming up. And this is a perfect time for it. You've got engaging personalities. And I think that's the difference is the women's games had good players. You know, all the greats at UConn and all the greats at Tennessee, you know, Stanford, you know, Louisiana Tech going back farther than that, you know, Brittany Griner at Baylor and different teams. But we're starting to see a little bit more personality. And what drives sports in general is personality. You know, that's how you get people to watch. Because you and I have seen a lot of really good teams not have a great following because they're kind of boring. You know, you look at the Patriots, you know, their fan base is still just New England. Because they won all those Super Bowls, but if Tom Brady's the face of what you got going on, like he's great because he's great. Like there's nothing else to, you know, there's no, you know, Jordan had that kind of swag. Like, you can win. I've said it about my 49ers. You know, the team of the 80s, they were very businesslike. Joe wasn't saying a whole lot. Jerry's whole thing was, I'm better than you. You know, like, but there was no thing until Deion shows up in 94. And then now, you know, got the defense playing with this way. So you need that for people to tune in. It's not just a matter of greatness. You got to have something extra with it. It's like Adam said, you understand that sports, essentially, it's entertainment.
Absolutely.
And that's what helps leagues and teams and whatever become more in the national consciousnness. You know, Dennis Rodman, you know, he marketed himself well, right? So that's what you need. And hopefully we'll see the numbers don't lie. It was a tough day for nobody watches women's sports because those are numbers. And I saw a lot of people, they put it on a Sunday. It wasn't up again. You get 10 million people to tune in. That's a big deal, especially in today's day and age. Like it, you know, when we were coming up, 10 million people, when you only had 4 channels, getting 10 million people to watch one of them. Okay. But today, in today's day and age, I'll take it.
All the streaming and all the options and, you know, Bounce TV and Fubo and, you know, so many other different things out there for people to consume, you know. Yeah, for sure. And Kim Mulkey too, she's got personality. You mentioned how, you know, the outfits in Louisiana. I stumbled across some YouTube of her at Louisiana Tech, and she was a baller too. I mean, she could shoot. She was dropping dimes, and she had the, you know, as Adam liked to say, the Haley Van Zant. She had her little ponytails like Haley Van Lith wears, and those Louisiana Tech had those weird little shirts for their uniforms.
The Evansville men.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing too is you need the thing that women's basketball has had is here are these great players you should root for. But what makes men's sport is there's people you can root against. Like we should. Well, that's what I'm saying. Christian, like you need, you know, the Danny Ainges, right? I watched a thing about the beef that I sent you that beef on Jimmy and Jerry and the Cowboys, but they did one on Danny Ainge and Robert Ory, right? Like you need bad guys to root for. You need teams to root against. And even when Tennessee and UConn are there, like you can't like. It doesn't feel right to root against Rebecca Lobo or Breonna Stewart or Maya Moore. Like, no. Now people are going to want to see Caitlin Clark get taken down a peg. Part of the reason we like to watch Steph Curry is, we want to see him hit these credible shots, but we'd really like somebody to humble him. right? Like we really want somebody just to, hit that shimmy and he misses. And then we want to see somebody shimmy in his face, right?
You had the profile pic of when LeBron blocked him in the finals and looking at him. That was your Twitter profile pic.
Yeah.
During that time, during that summer.
Well, but and that was the thing. He'd done all that shimmy and they were 73-9 or whatever. And during that 3-1 comeback, LeBron just decided, after the whistle, whatever, I'm blocking everything. And he did it. And he was so dismissive. That's kind of why we watch. We need villains. Sports needs sports villains.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what women's basketball has not had to this point.
Yeah. They're on their way.
And now, you've got some sports villains. Like, look, I'm going to give Louisville a little bit of credit here. Coach Walls has run a great program. They've been to 4 or 5 Elite Eights or whatever. He kind of embraces that villain role, and they need it.
Sure is.
Women's basketball needs it. You need, maybe not to this extent, like the U showing up in fatigues, right? Like you need those kind of personalities. You need DeMarcus Cousins talking about playing Cornell. This ain't a spelling bee.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're starting to, hey, let's let the women have a little bit more personality with it. Mm-hmm. That's how the game grows, right? Yep. You look at all the games that are, our cultural whatever. You need personalities. That's how you, even if you don't win, you still need personalities, right? Everybody remembers, Buddy Ryan was a personality. And Bum Phillips was a person. Like you need that kind of stuff, and that's what women's basketball has. That's what we need. Heck, we need coaches that don't like each other. Mm-hmm. To me, that's great.
Yep.
I don't need coaches laughing at. No, I need coaches that don't like each other. Mm-hmm. Right? Give me more John Chaney and Coach Cal. Give me that. That's the funniest thing. Of every now and then, the younger generation of Kentucky fans will find that clip of John Chaney threatening to kill. I mean, I'll kill you. Like, give me that all day.
Yeah.
Or for the old timers, Bobby Knight taking a swing at Joe B. Hall. Like, give me that. Yeah. Don't give me we all friends and we all get along. Mm-hmm. Be angry and dismissive.
Yeah.
Right? Give me that passive aggressive stuff in the media. Give that to me.
Yeah.
That's why we're missing like Steve Spurrier.
Yeah.
Like he just got the one championship.
Right.
But we talk about him more than dudes that have a whole bunch.
Mm-hmm. Because he gave everybody work.
I mean, think about this, right? In those mid to late 90s,
mm-hmm.
we talk about Steve Spurrier more than we talk about Tom Osborne. And Nebraska was the business.
Mm-hmm.
But why is that? Because Steve Spurrier's fun.
Colorful.
Kentucky's got a heck of a punter.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, we do, but he's trying to say because we're going to do a bunch of punting.
That's all we got, in his opinion.
Right. You can't spell Citrus Bowl without UT.
Yeah.
Free shoes U. Like, that's what I'm talking about when I was like, we are missing those personalities, particularly on the collegiate level. We're just missing that.
No.
And I don't know if we get back to it, and you may not get that with, these $10 million contracts. You may not get people acting like that, but you need some of that, I think.
Yeah.
But part of it, you look at Nick Saban, he's not saying any, he's not doing a whole lot besides yelling at his players.
Mm-hmm.
Give us something. We don't have that.
Yeah.
Can you imagine, any team today showing up in fatigues?
No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't do it. Wouldn't fly today, man. They won't let it.
Can you imagine some team letting that rap like G-Reg come out in the seventh floor? Woo! it's not the same. Looking back, we came along at the right time.
Yep, sure did. Right? Still, it was brand new. It was, like you said, everybody was differentiating and not, cookie cutting each other and just doing the same old stuff. You're right.
Well,
I was thinking about even old dude for Utah before Jerry Sloan, Frank Layden, the heavyset dude.
Oh yeah, he was always on those VHS cassettes,
eating hot dogs or whatever he was doing. And that's Utah, but he had personality.
Well, and also what I like about the women's game is the metrics haven't got to it yet.
No.
And when you watch the women's game, everybody's got a distinct style.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is what, and we need to have Adam on for a sixth time or whatever it is. I like the way Iowa plays is because they make you play their way.
Yep.
If you're going to beat them, you're going to have to outscore them. Now, you do that, and you get a team like LSU that hits 75% of their threes in the first half. That's what happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then you look at South Carolina, and it's like they can't shoot like we shoot.
Don Staley in the portal now, getting some snipers. You already know,
right? But every game that Iowa lost this year was, you got to get into the 80s against them, because what happens is Clark's going to do her thing, and if you and I don't know how much of the games that you watch, she's got Steph range where you got to pick her up in transition, because when her feet hit the logo, she's looking to get that shot up.
Mm-hmm.
So too much attention on her, and you've got Gabby Marshall. You got these other players that you end up if they can hit wide open shots, right? And you start going 2 for 3, and now you're trying to play fast, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to play a game that's not yours. It's to my mind, it's very reminiscent of the '96 Wildcats, where Pitino said the only way this is going to work is the only way people are going to be happy is if we score 80 points a game. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to get a lot of possessions to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And, it all came together that LSU game.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, LSU had 42 points in the first half.
Uh-huh.
And you're thinking,
that's a good 20 minutes work.
42 points? Like, whoo. But then to be down by 44 points. And that was that they made you play the way they wanted to play.
Mm-hmm.
That's why that team was so good. They sped you up.
Yeah.
Because you had to match what they were doing. Right? And so that's one thing I do like about the women's game is the games are different. I hope we retire the shot chart. Can we retire shot charts and all this kind of stuff?
On me.
Me. I did like it that San Diego State won a national semifinal on a mid-range long two. I did like that LSU, they cooled off shooting, the 3-point percentage of the first half. They won on what? The mid-range.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you get it done. I think over a long sample size, yes. Threes and layups. But when it starts to get when it's game time, you got to get buckets wherever you can get buckets.
Mm-hmm. Lamont Butler, man, just raised up. I was for one. Everybody probably, is he even going to get a shot? And to be that pure, and I mean, it was.
Yeah. Speaking of shots, some North Carolina guy. This came across my timeline this week because it's talking about. I guess the last time it was in Houston or whatever was the Villanova over North Carolina and the Chris Jenkins shot, and then the Marshall shot for North Carolina before that. Kind of the shot before the shot, and how he's like it's the most forgotten about, and I'm like. I'm gonna stop you right there. Yes, great shot before the shot. My counterpoint is the Sean Wood shot before the Leitner shot.
Yeah, for sure.
That was a bad shot. That was one of those no, yes moments
Mm-hmm.
that we get. To me, the degree of difficulty on the Sean Wood shot higher than Christian Leitner.
Oh yeah, yeah. 'Cause he took it in there.
He took it into the trees and just kind of flipped it up,
and
and it's like
somehow banked it in.
yeah, and it's like, oh, okay, you know. But anyway, that's when it comes to the basketball. I mean, the margins are that thin.
Yeah.
And you know, and some folks will tell you that you know, Coach Cal should probably have more championships and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, you know, in a single elimination tournament, anything happens. Let me see. Can I pull this up? I want to see if I can pull this up. Can you still see me?
Mm-hmm.
I had to go to my phone today because my computer wasn't working. So I'm going to give you the 1983-84 North Carolina Tar Heels roster. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Michael Jordan, Sam Perkins, Brad Dorn, Kenny Smith.
I didn't know Brad Daugherty was on that one. Wow.
Yes.
Man.
That team did not make a Final Four.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because we try to make these things about Coach Cal. One, his career started before he got to Kentucky. That's one. Two, well, look at all the teams that should have won. Every coach has got those teams. Every single one of them, you can look at the roster and be like, what? You didn't that team didn't win?
Yeah.
With 3 or 4 NBA players, like that team didn't win?
Mm-hmm.
It happens. You know, when we look at the tournament, I would say both of them, men's and women's, it's a great TV product, but it's a poor way to pick a champion. It just is. It's just that's what one thing I do like about the NBA playoffs, the best team wins.
Mm-hmm.
We've never, I don't think, really had a champion that you're like, oh, they just got hot at the right time.
Right.
I don't think we've ever I don't think you can look at the NBA and be like, really?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not even like you can say about you know, Eli Manning and the Giants. Like that dude's going to the Hall of Fame. And outside of the 2 Super Bowl runs, never won another playoff game.
What 95? The Rockets were a 6 seed, but they just didn't. They sucked in the regular season. They still the squad was there. They just
But I don't even think that's a head scratcher because they were defending champ.
Yeah.
Heart of a champion.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that was like
they just, they underperformed. They underachieved in the regular season, 47-35 or whatever.
Right. But even then, that wasn't a shock. I think it was a shock that they swept the Magic.
Yeah.
I think that was a little bit of a shock, but you don't get that like you get in other sports. But anyway, I just had to ramble a little bit about that, but always fun to chop it up. I am going to have Adam over so we can. It's about grilling time whenever the wind stops blowing around this place.
You're gonna grill some corn too, right? Gonna put some corn on the grill and all that.
Yeah, little miss thinks I'm stealing the corn from the field. I'm like, she's like, you can go grab it. I'm like, that's feed corn.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. See, I was about to say, well, you did kind of insinuate that that's what you were doing, but
Yeah, well, yeah.
Hey, what's the 515 in the Twitter handle? What's that? Because you are,
Oh, Mr. 515. That's a shout out to Pitbull because he's Mr. 305.
Oh, okay.
515 is the exchange here in Des Moines.
Ah, there it is.
So I changed it up to give a shout out to West Des Moines in the house.
That's right. She's born and raised.
That's right.
At the playground where she spent most of her days.
Yeah, but to be very clear, yes, Caitlin Clark went to Dowling. It's the Catholic school, but West Des Moines as a whole, it ain't like it's it's a suburb. It's suburban Iowa, so it ain't like it ain't tough.
Okay.
You know, like, okay, let's be very clear. Like these people, Dowling. I'm like, this is a pretty frou-frou subdivision. Like, come on.
Right. You're trying to throw shade at Dowling.
Yeah, I'm like,
calm
all
down.
kind of frou-frou.
Like, calm down up there, y'all.
Yeah, like, come on now. Anyway.
Oh man.
Always fun. Always
Yes.
fun.
Good stuff.
You know, it's going. This is when we have to earn our money for the next couple of months. Not a whole lot going on. Well, we got the NBA playoffs, so we haven't hit that drought yet, where it's the summer doldrums. But
yeah,
I'm gonna watch tonight. See the Lakers beat the Clippers, move into that 6th seed, because it's gonna be funny. Because so far, what I told you was gonna happen is happening.
I know it.
I was like, the Lakers just got to win 3 games in a row.
Yep.
Now they in that mix. And they have to play the Kings in the first round.
Light the beam.
What does that even mean?
I don't know.
I don't know. That's something that the Kings say. You ever notice something? All these teams with all these silly, ridiculous like chants and all this kind of stuff, they're just not good.
Yeah.
Like, if you got to explain to me what your thing is, I don't need to know it. Like, fly the W, that's been a thing since, before Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier. So I'm going to give you a pat. Like, for the A, those City Connect jerseys for your boys, they might be my favorite. Like, it's a little bit of an homage to the Hank Aaron era. Oh, yeah. Yeah, like, it's been a minute since I've purchased a cap, and I may have to get on board with that now.
They did it just right.
Yeah.
I'm biased, but they did it just right.
Yeah, Boston using ridiculous other colors. You the Red Sox. Why are you wearing whatever? Like, what is that? Well, it goes back to that. No, if you got to explain it, you're missing it. And
if we have an issue with it, I'm sure them chowder heads ain't thrilled at all.
Sully and them.
Oh man.
Don't get me started about Boston because, anyway,
exactly.
Always fun. We're going to do it again.
Thanks to your boy Adam, as always. And hit us on Spotify and BS3 TVlive.com on your Roku, or just hit the link and just go to On Demand and find us. We got archived episodes right there, and this one will be up there too.
We worldwide.
That's right. And I think Ben Surth and them they was covering the game with Adam as well. They were down there.
Yeah, they were down there for the Dallas.
Sitting up there above the scoreboard too. And
I can't think who it was. I think it was Dalk that had an interview with the Iowa band director. Okay. I need to check that out on Facebook and all that kind of stuff. But we proud folks here in Iowa. Caitlin Clark, she the real deal.
Nothing to be ashamed of.
And Adam's right. Yes, beating Louisville brought a smile to my face. I want Iowa to win, yay! But making history on the way, awesome. Against them, great.
That's right. We'll see y'all next Wednesday. Appreciate it, TV. Thanks again to Adam Jacobi. Y'all take care. Cats Talk Wednesday. See y'all next week.